Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Kiyan.
This is Triple Play, that podcast that's another story for another time, because this month we read The NeverEnding Story.
Written by Michael Ende.
Released in...
1979.
79, yep.
And 83 in the US.
And because it's a story for another time, that ends the episode. Done. Find out later what happened.
So yeah, this is the obvious choice for this episode. And we actually read the book well, I read the book first years ago, but we read this before. I reread it, you read it before we watched the movie, so that's kind of a first and a new thing for this podcast.
Yeah, I guess. We're actually recording this the same day that we recorded the previous episode.
Yeah,
wow,
just
what a
minutes
twist.
After.
Minutes after trying to find the next trilogy.
Which features, well, actually, we already gave it away. It's Kung Fu Panda, because we stopped doing the outro hint.
Yeah, also features Jack Black. What a twist. Anyway, this is about the book, though, so...
Right. Get it right, because it's a book. These things just fall into place.
Unfortunately. So I guess we'll talk about the differences between them, right?
Yeah, well, I
Mostly.
mean, we can start with how many times we've read it. And for me, it's like 10 or more.
Well, this is the first time I've read this book,
Yeah,
so...
this is like my favorite book. Or like it was my favorite book as a kid. It's like one of my favorite books now.
Yeah, your favorite book now is Mein Kampf. Another
No,
German
it's
hit.
not. No, it's not. Don't even joke about that.
Just wanted to get that German hit line in there.
A German punch
No,
line.
I actually don't know what your favorite book is, so...
And
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
was
what
a-
yours is, so
Yeah.
I guess we're even. Just kidding.
Okay, so... Yeah, this is the first time I've read this book, so...
So should we go differences? I don't think
Yeah.
we're gonna explain the plot
Plot's
really
way
'cause
too long
it's
for us to explain,
Yeah, it's too
yeah.
long. And then we'll just talk about what we liked and what we didn't like.
Yeah.
There's barely anything I didn't like. There is some. So
There's some things I don't like. There's some things I hate with a passion.
all right.
Well, you already know what it is.
Well, I know some of what it is.
Anyway,
We already discussed it
yeah,
a little
we did.
bit. So yeah, differences. The beginning of the movie is kind of actually a faithful adaptation to the book. So if you've seen the movie, then you kind of know pretty much what the first half is.
Well, right up until the point where they're like, we got to go find Betrayu.
The book starts with Bastian going into the bookstore. The movie has a little bit before that. You actually see his dad in the movie. His dad only shows up at the end of the book, but that's okay because the book has, well, narration, so you kind of get to know about his dad through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, it's kind of the same, but you get to know Atreyu a lot more, which is a lot better.
Well, in the book, they go and find Betrayu.
Yeah,
Betrayu
'cause
doesn't just
he's-
show up.
Yeah, and he's a greenskin in the book, which I read they were going to do with. I'm not sure if it's true or not. I read it on some odd site, but
Some sketchy forum.
I read that they were going to make him green in the movie, but it just didn't work out for some reason.
Probably because they didn't have the budget to.
Yeah, but yeah, he's a greenskin in the book, which obviously it's supposed to be like Native Americans. I don't know which tribe, but Michael Ende probably didn't know which tribe either.
He's German.
But yeah, they hunt the purple buffalo on the grass plains, and they're proud warriors, so I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, he's kind of not really that subtle about it.
Which doesn't need to be. I mean, the whole book really isn't that subtle.
No.
Which is great. It's written like that's one of the things I love about it. It's written like a fairy tale.
I just assumed it was a fairy tale.
Well, like it pretty much is. I mean, it's modern. It was written in the 70s.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Yep. So they go find him, and he goes on his journey, which includes a few more scenes.
Like the giant snake. Spider, sorry,
Yeah.
not snake.
Igramul,
The many.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
No, I don't.
Could have just said Jinx shot. It's too late now.
What? I've never actually heard
Ever
that.
heard about Jinx shot?
No.
It just negates it.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you know. And knowing is
Half the battle?
G.I. Joe.
What?
What? Did you say something? Anyway, you know that line is from G.I. Joe, right?
Well, I do now.
Well, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe.
Wow, we're stuck in a never-ending story that it's a circle, it's a loop that never ends.
Yeah, that also doesn't happen in the movie, where they not guilt trip, but they trap Bastion in this time loop where he has to go into the book. Jerks. Just kidding.
Now, Bastion's the biggest jerk. Let's all be honest.
He is, but anyway. Yeah, a lot of when Atreyu gets, well, I'm gonna call him Atreyu here because that's how I always pronounce it in the book.
Great, I can call it the Arun or whatever the hell I called it when I was reading the book.
If you want, it's Orin in the book, but it's the Orin in the movie. When he gets to the Southern Oracle, the Sphinxes don't shoot laser beams, and that scene is
They shoot invisible laser beams
that scene
of
is
riddles.
That scene is so much better because in the book it's just like, or in the movie it's just like, okay, be confident and you can pass the Sphinxes, but in the book it's like, if you have a good heart, you can pass the Sphinx. So I like that a lot better in the book.
They also have 3 gates in the book, and they only have 2 in the movie.
Oh, Falkor is tons better in the book because there's actually a reason for him to travel with Atreyu other than him being like kind of a pedophile. Because in the book, Atreyu, I guess I'm just calling him Atreyu, it's a bit easier to say, saves Falkor from Yggdrasil, the giant spider. And
By accident.
And conveniently, Yggdrasil's blood can just teleport you anywhere. It's also poisonous.
That's what I didn't really like about this book, is sometimes there were some random plot contrivances that seemed like they were a little bit hand-wavy.
Yeah, well, Michael Ende just made it up as he went along, which he did for like all his books.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can kind of see, but I do think for something that he just kind of winged, it did all come together pretty well in the end.
I guess. I mean, the whole journey to the Southern Oracle annoyed me afterwards, because at first I thought what was going to happen was that the whole Atreyu section, or the whole book, because I didn't know about the Bastion bit, was going to be like the journey to the Southern...
Like half the book. Okay, whatever.
The journey to the Southern Oracle was going to be the whole book, but then they like wipe it away one chapter later, and I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that, I guess. But then later, Michael Ende throws in this line about Fantastica. It's called Fantastica in the English translation.
It's originally Fantasia.
Yeah.
But I like Fantastica better, just in terms of like just how it sounds.
But he introduces this line about how Fantastica can be as big or as small as you want, so journeys can take as long or as little as you want. So I'm like, okay, so why did they make a big deal about the Southern Oracle being 1,000 miles or whatever away?
Well, I mean,
he could just wish it to be close.
He didn't know that. And I mean, I think it's probably more in line with, not more in line, but I think it's probably similar to the second half of the book, where like, because one of the things in the movie is like Bastion just wishes for whatever he wants, but in the book it has to be like a sort of a subconscious wish. So like I think it has to be more of a subconscious thing, which doesn't mean that Atreyu wouldn't have gotten there quickly, because it just doesn't. But
yeah, okay, Atreyu didn't know about it. I'm not blaming Atreyu. I'm just like, when Michael Ende introduced that line, because he doesn't introduce it as the two characters talking. The line is introduced as like a narrator talking to the person reading the book, as says, if you didn't
some
know,
of that stuff in there.
So I was like, okay, you just like negated half of the emotional distress you built up for Atreyu's character. Now I don't really care.
I don't think he negated it. It's because it's like more about his journey. I mean, even the childlike empress / Moonchild says that. Actually, she's not Moonchild at that point.
I don't know. It just,
but I guess if whatever.
For me, it was like, okay, you're just like negating all the rules that you just set. But okay.
Yeah. So it's 3 gates, and he gets through, and then you actually see Uyulala in the Southern Oracle, who's this being / she's just a voice, and she always rhymes, and that was a really cool part. I wish they did that in the movie.
Yeah, they kind of cut the rhyming bit.
Yeah. I know you said you didn't like it.
I didn't?
Well, you said...
I said that I didn't like that they cut the rhyming bit.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you didn't like the rhyming bit, but...
No, I liked the rhyming bit. I didn't like that they cut it in the movie.
So they cut more stuff out. They cut the 4 winds in the book.
I'm okay with that.
Movie. Yeah, honestly, if there's anything I would cut in the book, it'd be the first chapter, which they spent like 20 minutes on in the movie, and the 4 winds. And yeah, I guess we're just doing this all as it comes up, which is
Yeah.
better. And so one of the things I actually don't like about the book is like the first chapter because it is boring. With
I
the
disagree. I like the first
with the
chapter.
rock biter and the tiny and the hobgoblin or whatever it is. I didn't like. I never liked that since I read it when I was a kid. I just wish they went straight. It's a good way to introduce the nothing, but I like once Atreyu shows up, I'm like, okay, this is starting to get way better.
I mean, I thought that chapter was okay, but it does play into what I didn't like because as soon as those characters aren't worth anything anymore, they're like, but that's another story for another time. And I hated that line. The whole book, I was like, I just don't care.
That's a bit nitpicky.
Well, the line came up so many times where it was like, so I'm reading a story about Atreyu. I only want to hear about Atreyu. I don't really care what all the other characters all the other characters I know have a story after this. I don't really care that it's a story for another time. Like, just don't tell me.
I don't see why that's a problem. I actually love the lines. Like,
I hate it.
I mean,
with a
I can see
passion.
if you like don't care, but I don't understand why you would hate it. But anyway,
Just
I
like
just
rubbing it in your face. Haha, this is a story for another time that we're not telling you. Haha.
no. Well, then you can go make up your own story about it.
I won't because I don't care about any of those characters. That they
You
said
don't
that
care
line
about any of the side characters? You don't care about Urgel and Engiwook and Zaid and everyone else? I loved all the characters in this book.
Yeah, but they didn't use that line about Zaid.
They used it with something about her.
I don't think they did. Because Zaid's death was we'll just give you the facts and you can make your own assumption. Like, okay, do that for all the stories. I would be okay with that.
Because they say that they say the metal horse is still there. You can still find it there to this, or they say that about Seconda, actually, the sword.
Yeah.
Which they could have worked into the movie. But anyway.
They didn't say it about Zaid. Or Zaida, as Bastian says in the movie.
Anyway, yeah, the next parts are actually quite different. Like we mentioned in the previous episode, if you listen to that, the next part of the book was supposed to be like kind of depressing or whatever, when Atreyu like loses Orin and almost gives into the nothing. And he goes to like the dead city or whatever, but they just replaced that with the rock biter.
I just assumed he was going to jump into the nothing. To be honest.
He meets Gamork, and then you learn more about the story. That was kind of the same.
Yeah, kind of plot dumpy though.
Yeah, but yeah, whatever.
Which is something that I hate in Doctor Who, so I feel like I should equally dislike it here, but
you just didn't care.
Pretty much.
I liked it. I like that neat little bit. I actually, my favorite part from that scene was when he was like, I was looking for Atreyu, but I failed. And then he's just like, I'm Atreyu. And Gamork is just like, aw, dang it. Because in the book, he's chained, because he has a story where he like meets the queen of the dead city, and he gets tricked and poisoned, and he's chained to a fence or like a post or something. But in the book or in the movie, he's just covered by rubble.
Yeah. Well, he gets stabbed in the movie too, and in the book he gets absorbed by the nothing.
Sucked in by the nothing.
Well, he dies of like disappointment or something, and then Atreyu's leg gets caught in his mouth.
When he finds out that he's talking to Atreyu, he just like dies. He dies of laughter, actually. Something like that. So the next bits are not a lot different, but...
Well, the childlike empress goes to the old man in the mountain.
Yeah, who writes the NeverEnding Story.
He's like, what's up?
And she's like, what's up? Long time no see. Let's just bring Bastion here. Let's force him to come. He kind of wants to come. There's a lot more about Bastion in the first half, by the way, which is kind of obvious. You can do a lot more with a book.
Yeah, well, see, okay, well, I guess this is a good time to point out that in my head, I'd imagine this taking place in like a small German village. And the reason I thought that was because in the translation, they referred to the school as a schoolhouse. So I was like, okay, so it's a schoolhouse. It's like one of those one-story...
One room,
One room, like red with a little chimney schoolhouse. I'm like, well, you only ever see those in small towns, so I guess this takes place in a small town. Well, that was like my thought process.
It's never really specified. When the first time I read it, and like every other time I read it, I just imagined it as like kind of a regular town. I imagined it as like a regular school.
Yeah. Magic of books.
Yeah. But in the movie it's like a big city. Yeah.
With a really freaking big attic.
Yeah. They also made it America.
Well. They filmed it in
F yeah.
Vancouver. They filmed it in Vancouver.
Yeah.
We didn't mention that in the last episode.
But we're mentioning it now.
Why not?
Um,
The whole Bastion bit of the book is a lot more fleshed out than the second movie.
yeah.
Well, they adapted some of the plot elements, like Zaid. I didn't really know how to pronounce the name when I was reading it, so I just kind of pronounced it as X in my head and just skipped over the name.
I just called her Zaid. But, yeah, there's a lot of unpronounceable names in this book, which is kind of cool. I kind of like when books have names that are hard to pronounce because, like, I don't know, it's like written words, so there's no real way to pronounce it. So you can just, like, make up your own way to pronounce it in your head.
I mean, I'm okay with that as long as it looks like it could be an actual name. Like, as long as it doesn't look like someone just smashed their head against the keyboard and...
Oh, yeah, I don't want, like...
like all those Welsh towns that look like someone smashed their head on a keyboard and it's like, well, this is an actual word in our language.
But yeah, then Bastion goes into the book. He has to give the childlike empress a new name, and it's Moonchild. And in the movie, they imply that it's like his mom's name, but that never happens in the book. But it might be his mom's name. You don't know. Although if it is his mom's name, I feel freaking sorry for her.
This kind of sucks that they named me Moonchild. Moonchild Bucks.
Jesus. Yeah, I guess this book really brought in the big bucks for Michael Ende.
Well, yeah, Bastion. This
is
I
where
guess he like falls in love with with childlike empress, or at least
Yeah.
that's the implication.
Yeah.
He's like 10 years old though, so I don't know how he knows what love is.
He doesn't. That's the whole point of the second part of the book is that like he has to relearn how to not relearn, but he has to like start loving his father, or something like that. But yeah, this is where the movie ends. So obviously, this is where things diverge. In the movie, we have this awful scene where Bastion gets revenge on the boys who picked on him.
I'm okay with it.
But like, that's so not what the book is even about. It's so not what the story is.
But they needed a way to
even
end
about.
the movie.
They did, but
because I think
don't
they knew
like
they
that
weren't going to
ending.
be able to make the second one to adapt the second part because I guess they didn't have the budget or whatever. They didn't have the backing at the time. It's like, well, we needed to have like an ending so that when people watch the movie, they can come out and be like, okay, the movie didn't end on a cliffhanger.
You know what? Looking back on it, I would even be okay if it's really stupid, but I would even be okay if he brought Falcor to the human world if he didn't chase the bullies.
I'm okay with it.
Because like the second half of because revenge is the second half of the book is like essentially saying like, hey, revenge isn't what you really want.
I mean, yeah, but they're only adapting the first half of the book, so
yeah, but that's not a good excuse.
Yeah, it is.
Not really.
The first half of the book doesn't talk about revenge at all.
Yeah,
like
but
maybe I'm not saying this is, and because I don't give the filmmakers that much credit, but maybe the second half, the second movie they're planning to make was going to be like, he would go back to Fantasia, and they'd be like, hey, what you did back there, that's not really cool, and they like banish him to the outskirts, to the desert of many colors, and then that's how they get into the plot of the second book, and then that's how he learns that, hey, revenge isn't cool, and then he comes back after the second movie, and he's like, hey, guys... He comes back to the boys like, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. Can you forgive me? And they're like, yeah, I guess we can forgive you.
They just throw him in another dumpster. Anyway, yeah, but even still, like, even if they weren't going to adapt the second half, what they could do is have the ending to their movie kind of not do justice, but respect the second half. But I guess it's whatever, you know.
They adapted the first half of the book and they needed an ending, and that's what they went with.
I don't like it.
It's
but
like
I guess
it's like the classic movie ending of the hero going back to defeat the enemy that beat them at the beginning of the film. That's what they were doing. Like almost most films about some sort of hero going on a journey end with him coming back to defeat the villain who beat him at the beginning. So that's what they were going for.
I guess, but this book doesn't, which is great. Because it's not about him going and defeating anyone. It's about him learning that he needs to change. But anyway, yeah. So then he in the movie Fantasia just like comes back, I guess. But in the book, it's like recreated by Bastion, and he gets this sick sword.
Well, the way I read it was that. Nothing stops spreading, and everything that already existed does, and then Bastion adds like some new bits.
Yeah, essentially.
Like the way I read it was that like Fantasia has grown. Every time a human comes, they add like a couple new areas.
Mm-hmm. Or a couple new aspects.
Yeah,
And
and
then
Bastion adds freaking forest that dies at night and turns into a desert.
that was so cool, though.
It dies in the day and turns into a desert.
Yeah. Also, in the book, he's fat and ugly, and the movie he's not. And the part of the second half of the book is how he wishes for all these like cool powers and abilities, like that he doesn't want to be fat and ugly and non-athletic anymore, and he doesn't want to be stupid anymore, and yeah. But then, see, that's why I like it, because then he like learns that like that's not what he really actually wanted.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
By the end, so
still kind of a jerk though.
he is right up until the very end. That's why I like it, because like right at the very end, he learns that he has to, if he wants to change, he has to take his own responsibility. He learns that with great power comes great responsibility.
Thanks, Uncle Ben.
And if you want to know more about great power and great responsibility, check out our episode on Spider-Man.
Can you remember which number that was?
Nope. Can you?
I think it was number 5.
Yeah, I think it's 5. But yeah, then I
No,
don't think. Are
it
we
was
going to
4.
explain?
It was 4.
It was 4?
5 was X-Men.
Oh. Are we going to explain every little thing here? Because this
No.
is where everything diverges. Well, I guess we can just explain what the second one does with the parts of the second half of the book. It has Zaid.
Has her hand castle.
She's like the main villain in the second movie, but like in the second half of the book, Bastion is like the villain himself, to be honest.
Yeah. She kind of pushes him in that direction, though.
Yeah, she does. It's kind of the same as in the movie. She convinces him to betray Atreyu. Wow, betray Atreyu. Betrayu. But in the book, it's a lot cooler, because when he gets the sword, it's like it can only jump out of the scabbard into his hand. He can't pull it out, because he's warned if he ever pulls it out, something really bad will happen. And when he does pull it out, he cuts down Atreyu, and he falls off of the tower. Not off of a cliff, off of the ivory tower, which
The Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, we didn't mention in the movie. It sounds like they're saying Eiffel Tower. But yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff that never made it into the
I call
movie,
it
like
introspective nonsense.
like the Star Cloister. That was pretty cool. And my favorite chapter, which is the House of Change, which.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was ever since the first time I read the book, I was like, "Yep, this is my favorite." And yep.
Yeah, you told me your one was 2 chapters after the chapter I was reading, but that would be incorrect then, because the one 2 chapters after the one I was on was the mine.
You said you were on the City of Old Emperors.
I said I'd finished the City of Old Emperors.
Oh. Well, you said City of Old Emperors, so that's 2 after. So there you go.
Yeah, so I was confused. I was like, you like the one with the freaking mine?
Nah. I do like the schlemoofs, though.
Yeah, they showed up in that chapter. I was like, well, I guess this is the part Kiyan likes, schlemoofs.
But I really like the ending to the book. I mean, Bastion is
Still a jerk.
Something else that starts with a bast. And right up until the end, and then Atreyu comes back, and he's like, wow, I'm nothing, even though all his wishes were like him trying to be more like Atreyu, right? In the end, he's like, wow, I'm not like Atreyu at all, because he never finished any of the stories he started. And he never actually took any responsibility for any of the crap he did.
And he still didn't really. But then he gets away scot-free.
No, but what I like at the end is that he goes up to his dad, and his dad is like, he tells his dad he stole the book and whatever, and his dad forgives him, and his dad and him start like this new relationship, and his dad is like, hey, I can go return the book for you if you want, and he's like, no, I'll do it myself.
I mean, okay, so he takes responsibility for that, but he doesn't take responsibility for anything he did in Fantastica. Kind of gets off scot-free there.
Yeah, it was his learning experience.
And that's kind of what I didn't like, because they're like, he's redeeming himself. Like, I still don't feel like he's a good person, because all of the stuff he did in Fantastica wasn't that nice.
He doesn't redeem himself until like the last page. What?
I mean, he only redeems himself for the
Actually,
human world.
I wouldn't even say he redeems himself. He like starts on his like path to becoming better, to actually changing, and not just wishing for him to be super cool and awesome. So that's why I like it.
The ending feels...
Also, it's just a really cool adventure.
The ending feels like it's supposed to be, oh, hey, look, Bastion's a cool guy now. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. Not yet.
Well, I don't think it's supposed to be like he's trying to change. And that's that's why you start to like him, is that he's trying now. And if you don't like him because he's trying, then that's just your own opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I do.
No, I don't not like him because he's trying. I don't like him because he hasn't
you want more that like you want him to actually like redeem himself by the end and not just start down that path.
I want him
Is
to
that what
at
it
least
is?
say that like what I did in Fantastica was wrong. I want him to
He
like,
knows what he did was wrong.
but no, he doesn't. He doesn't imply that he does
Yeah,
know that.
after he turns the what's they're called into the Schlemoofs, he's like, "Wow, was this even right? Was I right to
That
turn
was
them into the Schlemoofs?
the one time. But
Was
then
I
he, but
right
then he
to
like
cut down Betrayu?
they throw that plot thread away
Well, the
because
Schlemoofs,
Saeed comes in and is like, "Hey, you should betray Betrayu."
I think he knows in the back of his mind that what he's doing is wrong at all the time.
It doesn't really feel like that to me.
It's just a matter
to me,
of how you
it
interpret
feels
it. So.
like the way the story is written is like Bastion was always kind of a dick, and going into Fantastic kind of brought it to the forefront.
Well, I think he always wanted, like in the beginning, he always really wanted to change and become a different person, but then he didn't really.
See, I didn't get that at all
He
from the beginning of the book.
That's like pretty heavily implied in the first half, I thought at least. But then in the second half, he's like, okay, now I can finally be someone who I'm not. Like I can be this cool guy who's like really strong and smart. But then in the end, that's like not what he really wanted, and that just made him a worse person.
I mean, it does make him a worse person.
And then at the end, when he tries to actually change and truly become a better person, that's when you see that like, okay, he's trying to go down this different path now, and he's finally learning. So that's why I liked it.
I still feel like he never really accepts that a lot of the things he did in Fantastica were wrong, and that's why I don't really like the ending.
Yeah, that's just up to you.
It was like a 2-line addition. Hey, what I did there was wrong.
And he
could have just said
he
it to
leads
Atreyu.
many more people to Fantastica, but that's another story for another time.
Does it say he leads more people,
Yeah.
or does it just say that he returns to see the childlike Empress another time?
No, it said at the end, Corey Ender has this remark like, or maybe it's a narration, I don't remember, but it's like on the last page. It's like he'll lead many more people to Fantastica, almost in Fantasia.
I thought it ended with him with a line like, he doesn't know it yet, but he'll see the childlike Empress another time or something, but that's a story for another time. I thought that was how it ended.
No, it's like he doesn't know it yet, but he'll lead many more to more adventures in Fantastica.
Okay.
Okay. Drugs are bad. Okay, never mind.
What are you, Ringo now?
That's Mr. Garrison from South Park. And whenever anyone says okay, that's what I think.
Okay. Book was good.
Yeah,
Wasn't
that's the book.
amazing.
Well, yeah, it's one of my favorite books. If I read it now, I'd probably be like, yeah, that was just great, not amazing. But I read it as a kid, so I was like, when I first read it, I was like, yep, that's my favorite book. Yeah.
I guess because if you read it as a kid, you would identify more with Bastion and Atreyu.
And but even now, I still think it's like just a really cool adventure. Even if you and I disagree on like Bastion himself, it's like there's so many cool scenes and like different things in the book that are.
I mean, yeah, it's really cool. It's a cool adventure, but like, I feel like for me, I like other kinds of adventures more, which is why I don't like this book as much as you.
All right.
I'm just not really that big of a fantasy guy, so I mean,
I'm not either, but
I just don't.
This is like better fantasy because a lot of fantasy is like really drawn out and too political and just garbage. But
Lord of the Rings was. I liked Lord of the Rings better than this book. To be honest, just gonna say it right now.
Okay, well, I never even read them.
You're missing out.
I read The Hobbit. That was kind of boring.
The Hobbit's not as good as the Lord of the Rings. I read The Hobbit as well. The Hobbit's not as good as the actual Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yep. So that's the book.
That's all, folks. Email us at the Decorative Vegetable.
Okay. Well, I guess I already mentioned my favorite chapter and least. But did you have one? You said no, but like
no,
you don't. No favorite, no least favorite.
No. I mean, I kind of liked the Man in the Mountain.
Oh, okay. I like all the chapters except the first one.
I was like, that's pretty cool. It actually is the NeverEnding Story. That's neat.
Okay. Whatever.
Didn't really dislike any of the chapters. I was like, oh, they're okay. Yeah, so email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, thoughts on your favorite book. Find us on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play, all at Triple Play. Check out the website, decorativevegetable.com.
Yep, check us out on Facebook. Triple Play or facebook.com/3p podcast. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at 3p podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time, as we mentioned before, we're ditching the hints. Not that we even gave hints in the 0.5 episodes anyway, but yeah, next time we're going to watch Kung Fu Panda. Just reiterating there. But until then, the end.